A couple who had been attempting to conceive had their first child, whom they named Kusuo Saiki, 16 years ago. The pink-haired boy was born with superpowers, despite the fact that his parents were completely normal. At the age of just 10 days, he discovered speech and, a month later, levitation. Although they thought it was highly weird, the couple decided it was a blessing, and they would nurture the child themselves, rather than take him to a lab. Saiki had a reasonably nice upbringing as a result, but now that he is a teenager, his abilities have turned into a burden. The child, who is practically omnipotent, cannot use his abilities to win money in casinos, since he would undoubtedly be caught cheating. In addition, since girls aren't always thinking about romantic matters, his ability to read minds won't help him win her over, because this could break the mood. Saiki can apparently do practically everything thanks to his irrational abilities, which makes life extremely simple and boring. As a result, Kusuo Saiki feels incredibly unlucky, and is making every effort to appear normal, by receiving ordinary marks, and consistently finishing third or fourth in competitions. In order to prevent accidentally destroying the city, the youngster places a pair of antennae on his head to stabilize his powers, because to make matters worse, he is powerless to control them. However, as a result of this, Saiki is compelled to hypnotize his classmates in order to prevent them from noticing the object on his head. The teacher informs the class that the annual PK High School Festival will be held the following month, and issues a warning to maintain proper behavior, stressing that there won't be any festivities the following year if they get into trouble. Kusuo always takes advantage of the festival's opportunity to slip away from the crowd and spend some time alone, even if he thinks it's dumb. He makes the decision to make sure that nothing goes wrong, because he doesn't want to miss this opportunity. Following the teacher's remarks, a different student by the name of Hiro steps forward and declares that he will serve as the group representative in charge of creating the festival activities. However, the class democratically rejects his proposal to hold an origami show. They opt to gather unusually shaped stones instead, which they then offer to the other classes. After class, Saiki is successfully surprised by Nendo, a rather odd-looking boy with a chin resembling Uncle Grandpa, who sneaks up behind him and covers his eyes. Kusuo has the ability to sense the presence of someone approaching from a distance of at least 200 meters. Nendo, on the other hand, is never seen because of his strange, blank mind, which usually catches Saiki off guard. The Asian Crimson Chin encourages Nendo to go rock hunting with him. As soon as Saiki notices his presence, Saiki tries to refuse, but Shun, a very odd youngster who thinks a hidden society is attempting to end the planet, interrupts him. Shun leads the two of them to the building's roof, out of concern that someone might be listening in on their chat in this sinister conspiracy. There, he makes the stunning revelation that he discovered a note from the group in his closet, pledging to carry out an attack during the festival. Shun seeks assistance from his colleague to deal with the so-called New World Order, unaware of his colleague's abilities. Saiki puts on a front of acceptance despite being certain that nothing is true. 1 week before the PK festival, Kusuo is working at his desk when he overhears a girls' circle talk, where an overly popular girl named Kokomi Terahashi is persuaded by her friends to enter the Miss PK competition that would choose one of them as the prettiest female in the school. While Saiki can see in Terahashi's head that she doesn't want to compete, since she believes she would win easily, despite being incredibly vain, she claims she has no chance, and suggests another buddy enter. Kusuo states that although he is not drawn to Kokomi, he can tell that she looks intrigued because he neglected her when they first met while on vacation. When Terahashi approached Saiki in the park on this particular day, she was completely indignant, since she had expected him to sigh for her and express his love for her over the entire summer. She chooses to meet him once more, since she believes he was too stunned to answer appropriately. However, Kusuo chooses to ignore her this time, making the girl even more angry. Kokomi goes to speak with Saiki once more, this time touching him to ensure she isn't a mirage, since she finds it impossible for someone to be uninterested in her. Kokomi then concludes that Saiki believed he was hallucinating. However, when she tries to do so, Kusuo avoids her and goes about his business as usual. He then disappears from view and teleports away from her. Terahashi notices that the kid has vanished and believes it was all a dream. She interprets this as a sign that she is in love with the boy, and becomes obsessed with him, attempting to approach him in a variety of ways, but always being rebuffed. Saiki's mother interprets a cup breaking unexpectedly over breakfast with his parents on the day of the festival as a bad omen. But as Kusuo doesn't believe in such things, he chooses to ignore it and proceed peacefully to the festival, intending to use his abilities to prevent any trouble. The entire group assembles one more time before the event and displays the many stones they have discovered, but Aren Kobayasu's stone sticks out the most because it maintains a reddish color. Kusuo recognizes the item as belonging to Aren, a former miscreant who recently transferred to PK High School in an effort to reform his life, but who, although making a feeble effort to conceal his criminal background, acts irrationally whenever he has the chance. Believing the ink to be blood, Saiki returns to the hallway, where Terahashi is still after him. She has planned to set up a number of coincidences, so that they can happen by themselves, but she has no idea that the child can read her mind, and already knows what she is planning. Excited with her plans, Kokomi chooses to call Saiki, but as she dials his number, a crazed group of individuals arrive and identify themselves as Terahashi's fan club members, and ask her to enter the Miss PK competition. Kusuo decides to teleport outdoors, and finds herself in the illusionist performance of Uryoku, a student from a different class. By taking advantage of her diversion, Saiki agrees to stay and provide assistance if necessary, after recognizing that the youngster is using his mother as an aid, and that something could go wrong. The magician informs the audience before the performance that he will be chained up and given 3 minutes to escape. Before his assistant starts poking blades through the holes, Saiki teleports into the box to free the magician, after learning about the illusion, and believing there is a good probability that it will go wrong. Uryoku, however, has pulled off the ruse and is already outside. Kusuo only observes as the illusionist's mother pierces the box with her blades, making him flinch to avoid getting struck, because he must wait 10 minutes between each transfer. Saiki sighs with happiness that he has avoided the swords after 3 minutes have elapsed. Saiki assumes he is safe when Uryoku's mother says they will use a crane to drop the box from a height of 30 meters. The crowd, however, watches in terror as the box flies toward the earth when the cable snaps. Saiki, however, manages to prevent harm by jumping at the point of impact and fully ignoring inertia, just as the box is about to touch the ground. As if all this crazy wasn't enough, Uryoku's mother decides to light the box on fire with a gallon of fuel, which forces Kusuo to freeze the item from the inside and stop the flames from spreading. When the steamroller is about to strike Saiki, the elderly woman announces that they will now smash the box with it. But Saiki notices that the 10-minute window has gone, and he can already teleport away. Saiki is immediately distracted from his thoughts by the magician's sudden reappearance on top of the stage, which grabs the attention of the audience. All the lads are quite unhappy when Terahashi, on the other side of the school, agrees to participate in the beauty contest as a judge, after being persuaded to do so by her fan club. Shun turns away from the gathering in frustration, and begins to make his way back toward the school. A member of the Dark Reunion comes and engages him in conversation, directing him to the group's gathering spot. The leader of the organization, Moonlight Butterfly, introduces the youngster to the other members, and tells him that Shun was a former member of the Dark Reunion. The boy then meets the other members. Shun now explains that he was previously one of the group's most esteemed fighters, but that he fled after learning of their true intentions, took the Stone of Destruction, and has been sought after ever since. He was consequently compelled to employ a forbidden ritual to transform into a spirit and enter Shun's body. However, the cult leader offers Shun a chance to rejoin the organization, and claims he can forgive him. Moonlight Butterfly has no choice but to employ his potent laser pen on the ex-member, because the boy declined the offer. At this time, the leader of the Dark Reunion, announces that the group has come to the school specifically to destroy 7 sacred spheres that are capable of destroying them, making Shun swear to track them down and destroy the sect before they cause harm to other people. Nendo enters the scene as Hiro is announcing the school marathon, and declares that he too wants to take part in the competition, the winner of which would get to watch Kokomi for 10 minutes. Kusuo, who is concerned that someone might get hurt, chases the marathon runners, who are temporarily safe. Hiro begins to run erratically, crosses the stop sign, and nearly gets hit by cars, because of his stubborn refusal to lose to Nendo. Nendo, who appears to be inactive, is incredibly quick, and can catch up to the red-haired Rock Lee with ease, while also consuming a can of corn stew. Kusuo had to use his psychokinesis to change the traffic signals, and cause the cars to levitate over his friend, while Hiro continued to advance erratically through the streets, refusing to give up. Nendo nevertheless catches up with him, and claims that he took a pause to get another drink. He offers his companion a can of bean soup, but Hiro declines. While sprinting backward and consuming the canned food, the child maintains his advantage. Hiro warns him that there is a sumo wrestler on the other side of the field, as he makes a desperate decision close to the finish line. He uses this sneaky tactic to win the marathon, as his pal pauses to watch. The Asian Crimson Chin resolves to exact retribution, after realizing he has been duped, and uses the 1000 years of death jutsu on Hiro, which causes everyone to laugh in his face. When Eren checks his locker inside the school, he discovers a letter from his former gang members, asking him to meet them across campus. Kobayasu plans to walk in front of his former friends while laughing, since they are unable to recognize him because he has changed so much. When the crooks see Shun passing by with 2 bowling balls, they decide to inquire about his knowledge of Kobayasu. Shun quickly gestures to Eren after hearing the name, and gives him the go-ahead to leave. When Kobayasu is left alone with the miscreants and claims he doesn't have time to play, the group's leader hits him with his bat. However, this ultimately causes the ex-offender to reawaken his animal urge, and start attacking them with his bare hands. Kusuo is still concerned about potential mishaps at the school's festivities. He intended to get close to Terahashi, but because she managed to track him down and wouldn't let go, he was obliged to give in and accept her invitation to the haunted mansion. Nendo approaches the couple as they walk by Koro Chamber Sensei's, and offers to accompany them, thwarting Kokomi's hopes to be alone with the main character. Terahashi acts afraid inside, but Kusuo is comforted because he can see the other pupils through the walls. One of the lads tries to frighten the group at the end of one of the hallways, but fails when he notices how big Nendo's chin is, allowing the others to grab some props, and pose as ghosts. Every time the 2 boys go to wash up after leaving the spooky house, Nendo steals Saiki's spectacles, activating his ability to turn everyone who stares at him into stone. Saiki decides to drop his friend off at his lessons, because he understands that his friend won't be fully recovered for another 24 hours. To prevent further disturbance, the rock exhibit attracted everyone's attention to his lesson. Kusuo contacts his mother and asks her to check the room for the extra pair of glasses. The mother, meanwhile, is scared of her son's mess and would not enter, leaving the child to figure out a solution on his own. In the process of searching the school for additional spectacles, Saiki ends up terrifying a number of children. Unsure of what to do, Kusuo chooses to hide in the gin's storage area, where he encounters Terahashi, who seems to be up to no good. The boy ignores her and begs for her to leave him alone, because he doesn't have time to waste. Saiki discovers that Kobayasu is still engaged in combat outdoors. As soon as the girl complies, though, Eren tries to hide the fact that he was actually lifting weights, by claiming that Kusuo was watching. But after realizing that his colleague doesn't care and is only interested in the glasses, he chooses to give them to him in order to have his silence. Saiki, who can now see, sees the professor approaching and cures the criminals, temporarily changing their physical states, so that they can flee, claiming that if he gets into trouble once more, he will let everyone know, and that he is aware of his past. After resolving the issue, Saiki uses his abilities to regain his glasses and put a permanent halt to the danger of petrifying someone. The boy is ready to teleport away and unwind, believing his problems are finally behind him. Terahashi, however, reappears and asks him to join a game of couples. The boy rejects it and gets ready to depart because he has no interest in it. Before he can, however, Kokomi's fan club arrives and threatens to expel him for spending too much time with the girl. In order to encourage Saiki to flee, Terahashi decides to step in, continually causing the insane people to become distracted. They persist nevertheless, rushing after the two and eventually capturing them in the gym's storage room by latching the door. When they get there, Kusuo starts to read the girl's mind and realizes that this was her original intent, to keep Saiki away from his pals. Terahashi actually organized the marathon, the Dark Reunion, and Kobayasu's challenge. In order for them to be alone and without anyone to obstruct them, she finally has her fan club chase them to this location and lock them up with super glue. Shun manages to gather 7 bowling balls and brings them to the lair of the Dark Reunion, which is actually just a group of Kokomi fans in disguise. While Saiki considers a way out without revealing his abilities, the group's leader pleads with the youngster not to utilize the spheres right away, because doing so will cause them to disintegrate. Shun intends to do just that nonetheless. The sect members flee to all sides as the youngster performs a ceremony after positioning the balls, leaving Shun all by himself, and believing he has finally defeated the group. Outside, the criminals and the rest of the gang reappear and start to threaten Kobayasu, who is unable to see them and is unaware of what is going on. Saiki observes the group from the gym and comes up with a plan to stop the worst from happening. In order to turn the entire group back in time by making them vanish in front of everyone, he decides to do so, since he is trapped inside and is unable to leave without Terahashi becoming suspicious. Saiki is fully worn out after exerting so much energy to save Kobayasu, and he falls. His telekinetic abilities are eventually impacted by this. When Kokomi awakens from hypnosis, she finally sees the boy's antennae. Strangely enough, as the girl tinkers with the item, she takes out one of the antennae, releasing Saiki's power all at once. As a result, sensors all around the planet start to malfunction, and error messages warning of the end of the world start to emerge on every surface of the space station. Saiki suddenly awakens and tries to lean on a piece of wood, promptly destroying it. Terahashi is startled by the image and drops the antenna, which eventually lands someplace in the warehouse. Saiki turns to the girl and asks for the object, as soon as he notices that something is missing from his head, but the room freezes before she can find it. The guys begin to wonder if they are no longer on Earth as a result of this, since he is left with no choice but to wait for Terahashi to pass out from lack of oxygen. Kusuo chooses to take action at that point. He uses his skills to recover the antenna and return the building to Earth, but his issues are still not resolved. After all of this mayhem, Saiki realizes he will be unable to defend himself, and uses the remainder of his strength to travel back in time one day. This forces him to relive the festival and ensure everyone's safety, while also allowing Kokomi to make advances and act morally this time.